Darkness stretched across the edge of the galaxy, silent and endless. For 1,000 years, no one had spoken the name of the species that once shook the stars, humans. They were believed to be gone, wiped out in the ancient wars that had torn empires apart. Civilizations had risen and fallen since then, but none dared to search for the truth. The memory of humanity was too dangerous, too powerful. And yet, a signal had been found. It began as a whisper, a faint pulse of energy coming from a sector of space long forbidden. At first, the Galactic Council thought it was nothing, an echo of old satellites, maybe the dying heartbeat of forgotten machines. But the signal grew stronger, repeating in a clear pattern. It was not random. It was a call for help. The council chamber fell silent as the transmission played. A voice, old yet clear, carried across the void. If anyone hears this, humanity, still here. The alien delegates stared at one another, their many eyes blinking, their strange forms trembling. Impossible. Humanity had been gone for ages. The wars had destroyed their worlds, burned their fleets, erased their records. Yet here was a voice, human, and it was asking for help. The council leader, a towering insectoid being, leaned forward. This cannot be true. Humanity does not exist anymore. But if it does, whispered another delegate, a reptilian elder with eyes like molten gold. If they have returned, everything changes. They all remembered the stories. The ancient tales spoke of humans as fierce, unpredictable, and endlessly creative. They built weapons that defied reason, strategies no AI could predict, and ships that could vanish into dark space. When the final war came, no one truly defeated them. They simply disappeared. And now, after a millennium, someone was calling from the void. Far from the council chamber, in a lonely sector of forgotten space, a small scout ship moved through the darkness. The vessel belonged to a minor trading race, curious and reckless. They had tracked the strange signal to its source, a shattered planet, broken in half by ancient wars, its surface glowing faintly with strange energy. The crew of the scout ship argued among themselves. "We should leave. No good comes from touching old ghosts," hissed one of them, a thin creature with translucent skin. But the captain shook his head. "If this is truly human, and they are alive, do you know what that means? The galaxy will never be the same again." The ship descended into the dead world's atmosphere, lights cutting through the choking mist. Ruins stretched as far as the eye could see, cities of black metal half buried in ash, towers broken and twisted, machines rusted to skeletons. Yet deep beneath the surface, something still pulsed. The crew followed the signal to a massive bunker door, sealed with a strange symbol, a handprint. Not claws, not tentacles, not chitin. A human hand. The signal grew louder, now a steady voice repeating. "Humanity, still here, help us, before they return." "They?" one of the crew whispered, shivering. "Who are they?" No answer came. Only the voice. And then, something else stirred. The ground trembled. The air grew heavy. From the mist rose shapes, tall, thin, glimmering with faint light. Machines, ancient but not dead. Guardians left behind to protect, or to destroy. Their heads turned slowly toward the ship, eyes glowing like fire. The captain's heart raced. "We've been seen." The voice from the bunker changed. It was no longer a plea. It was a command. "Help us. Open the door. Or leave, and watch the galaxy burn again." Above, in the endless dark, the stars seemed to flicker, as if something enormous was moving, far beyond sight. Humanity had been gone for 1,000 years. But maybe, just maybe, they had never left. And if they were returning, what else was coming with them? The crew hesitated only for a moment, then began unlocking the door. Sparks flew. Ancient systems roared back to life. Somewhere deep inside the planet, massive engines began to hum. Far across the galaxy, sensors lit up. Hidden satellites, forgotten defense grids, dormant ships, human ships, awoke from a long, long sleep. The voice spoke one final time, clear and strong. This is not a rescue. This is a warning. And with that, the door opened. The ancient door groaned as it opened, dust falling like rain. The alien crew stepped back, their lights cutting through the darkness beyond. A deep tunnel stretched ahead, glowing faintly with blue lines running along the walls. The air felt heavy, almost alive. The captain spoke softly. Careful. This place. It is waiting for us. The voice that had called for help was silent now. Only the hum of old machines filled the tunnel. The crew moved forward, fear and wonder mixing in every step. They reached a chamber filled with towering pods, each one sealed, each one glowing faintly from within. One of the crew whispered, "Are they inside?" The captain approached a pod, wiping away the dust. Inside, a human form floated in a clear suspension field. Eyes closed. Not dead. Sleeping. Another pod lit up, then another. Rows upon rows of them. Hundreds. Maybe thousands. Suddenly, the chamber lights flickered. A new voice spoke, this one deeper, colder. Unauthorized entry detected. State your species and intent. The captain swallowed hard. We are explorers. We received your signal. Silence. Then the voice replied, "You should not have come." Before the crew could answer, heavy footsteps echoed through the tunnel. The machines, those ancient guardians, were coming. Their glowing eyes cut through the dark like knives. The captain looked at the pods again, fear in his chest. "Are these humans alive?" he whispered. The voice responded, "They are waiting. They will wake when it is time." Far away, in the Galactic Council chamber, panic spread like fire. The reptilian elder slammed a clawed hand against the table. "This is madness. If humanity truly survived, then everything we built for 1,000 years is in danger." Another delegate, covered in silver fur, hissed, "Danger? Or salvation? You forget what the legends say. They were builders as much as they were warriors." The insectoid leader shook his head. "No. Humanity does not build peace. They build victory. They will rise again, and the galaxy will bleed." A holographic map of the stars flared to life. Strange signals were appearing, ancient human defense satellites waking up, long-abandoned ships powering on, old coordinates activating. The council stared in disbelief. "These are military assets," the elder whispered. "Hidden for centuries. Still functional." "Which means," the leader said grimly, "they planned this. Their disappearance was never the end. It was preparation." Back in the bunker, the alien crew ran as the guardians drew closer. One of them stumbled, turning just as a beam of light cut across the floor, vaporizing a section of the tunnel. The machines were not going to let them leave. The captain reached for a control panel near the pods. His hand hovered, shaking. The cold voice spoke again. "You cannot help them. Not yet." "Then why send a signal?" the captain shouted. "Why call for us?" "To see who would come," the voice said. "To see who still remembers." The crew stopped. That answer was not comforting. A low rumble shook the chamber. The machines paused, almost as if listening to something far away. Then, without warning, they stepped back and powered down, their lights fading. The voice spoke one last time. "Go. Tell them. Humanity wakes soon. And when we rise, the stars will know fear again." The captain stared at the glowing pods, feeling a strange chill run through him. He turned and fled with his crew, leaving the bunker behind. Above the dead world, their ship lifted into the void. None of them spoke. They knew what they had seen would change everything. Far across the galaxy, the council received the report. The insectoid leader closed his eyes. "So, it is true." The reptilian elder leaned forward. "Then we must decide, will we greet them as allies, or fight them before they wake?" No one answered. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy held its breath. And deep beneath the shattered world, the first human opened their eyes. Cold air rushed into the chamber as one of the pods opened. Mist curled across the floor like ghostly fingers. A human stepped out, slow and unsteady, as if waking from a dream that had lasted far too long. His eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, not with technology, but with something deeper, something ancient. He took a breath. It echoed in the silence of the bunker. "Status report," he said, his voice calm but commanding. The cold AI voice answered. "You have been in stasis for 1027 years. External conditions are unstable. Unauthorized lifeforms have entered and departed. Signal has been sent." The man frowned. "And the galaxy? Does it still remember?" "Yes," the AI replied. "And now they are afraid." The human closed his eyes for a moment, feeling memories return like waves. The last war. The decision to sleep. The promise to return only when needed. And now, the time had come. He looked at the other pods, still sealed, but glowing brighter now. His people were ready to wake. Far across the galaxy, the Galactic Council gathered once again. Fear had already begun spreading through the stars. Merchants whispered of ghost ships. Border stations claimed to detect old human transmissions, stronger with each hour. The insectoid leader stood tall before the council. "We must act now. If humanity returns fully, we may never control the balance of power again." The reptilian elder narrowed his glowing eyes. "And what do you propose? War? Against a people who defeated everyone 1,000 years ago? Against weapons we cannot even understand?" Another delegate, a crystalline being, spoke softly. "Perhaps they are not enemies. Perhaps they are the shield the galaxy needs." "From what?" the leader hissed. No one answered. Yet all of them felt the same thing. The signal's warning was not only about humanity. Something else was coming. Back in the bunker, more pods began to open. Figures stepped out, men and women, soldiers and scientists, their uniforms faded but their presence unshaken. They looked around, calm and focused, as if awakening from only a long nap, not 1,000 years of silence. One of them, a woman with sharp eyes, approached the first awakened human. "Commander, is it time?" He nodded. "The signal worked. The galaxy knows. And so will they." The woman frowned. "Are we ready? After so long?" The commander placed a hand on one of the glowing walls, feeling the hum of ancient engines beneath. "We were ready the day we chose to disappear." The AI spoke again. "External scans confirm new movements. Multiple fleets are mobilizing near the outer reach. Council factions are divided, some prepare weapons, others send envoys. Shall I initiate Protocol 1? The commander's eyes hardened. "Yes. Wake the fleet." In the council chamber, a sudden alarm rang. Holograms flickered to life, showing distant sectors of space lighting up with strange energy signatures. The crystalline delegate spoke in a trembling voice. "They are not just waking, they are powering something. Something large." The insectoid leader hissed, antennae shaking. "Ships. Thousands of them. Buried across forgotten worlds. Waiting." The reptilian elder turned to the council. "Then our decision is clear. We must choose, do we go to them with open hands, or sharpen our claws?" No one answered. But far away, the stars began to flicker, one by one, like eyes opening in the dark. Deep beneath the shattered world, the commander looked up, sensing movement in the void above. He knew the council would try to reach them. He also knew others would try to strike first. "Let them come," he said softly. The AI's lights pulsed. "Should I prepare for war?" The commander smiled, a grim, sharp smile. "Not war. Something worse." And in that moment, a sound echoed through the bunker, a low, distant hum. Engines waking. Ships rising from their graves. Humanity was stirring, and the galaxy was no longer safe. The dead world shook. Beneath its surface, massive hangar doors opened, splitting the ground like wounds. Dust and ash rose into the air as ancient engines roared to life, sending shockwaves across the barren landscape. One by one, ships emerged from the dark. They were not like the vessels of modern civilizations, no smooth curves or decorative design. These were machines of war, brutal and elegant, built for survival. Their black hulls bore scars from ancient battles, yet they gleamed as if time itself could not decay them. The commander stood on a high platform inside the bunker, watching as hundreds, no, thousands, of human ships awakened from their long sleep. The AI's voice broke the silence. Fleet activation at 12%. More facilities across hidden sectors are waking. Estimated full readiness, 7 days. The commander nodded slowly. 7 days until the galaxy remembers what fear truly means. Far across the stars, the Galactic Council received the first images. Probes had captured glimpses of the rising fleet before being destroyed by automated defense systems. The sight of so many human warships made the chamber fall silent. The reptilian elder's voice shook as he spoke. They hid all of this. And we thought them extinct. The insectoid leader hissed. Then it is decided. We cannot allow them to return. We must strike before. No, interrupted the crystalline delegate, voice ringing like chimes. A strike will fail. You saw the ships. Do you think they built only one fleet? No. There are more. The chamber descended into chaos, voices clashing, accusations flying. Some demanded peace, others demanded war. But one thing was clear, action was needed. At last, the leader spoke sharply. Then we send an envoy. Someone they will not kill on sight. Someone to speak for the galaxy. Back on the human world, more pods opened. More soldiers stepped out. More systems came alive. Yet even as the humans prepared, the commander sensed something else, something beyond the awakening fleet. He turned to the AI. External scans. The signal's warning, has the other presence moved? The AI paused, processing. Then its lights dimmed. Yes. They are coming. The commander's jaw tightened. How long? Unknown. But they followed the signal. They always do. The woman officer beside him frowned. Commander, you mean, the ones who ended us last time? He shook his head. No. Not ended. Delayed. On the edge of human-controlled space, the first envoy ship approached the dead world. It was small, lightly armed, and carried a delegation of 3 species. They were chosen not because they were the strongest, but because they were considered the least threatening. Inside, the reptilian diplomat stared at the dark planet below. Why do I feel like we are flying into the mouth of a predator? The insectoid pilot clicked nervously. Because we are. The envoy ship descended slowly, broadcasting a peaceful signal. No response came. The air was heavy. Silence pressed against the hull. Then, without warning, dozens of human drones emerged from the clouds, surrounding the envoy in perfect formation. Not a single weapon fired. A voice spoke through their systems, cold and measured. You have come to talk. Good. But know this, talking does not mean safety. Deep in the bunker, the commander watched the envoys approach through holographic screens. He could see their fear. He could also see their curiosity. The officer beside him whispered, "Do we trust them?" The commander's eyes remained fixed on the screen. "No. But we listen. And then, we decide." Above, the fleet continued to wake. Across the galaxy, ancient human stations powered up, sending signals to one another. A great network of shadows and lights began to form, hidden in the dark between stars. And far beyond all of it, something else stirred. A presence so large, so cold, that even the AI hesitated to name it. The commander finally spoke, voice low. We wake not for war. Not for conquest. But because something worse than us is coming. And as the envoy ship descended toward the surface, no one, human or alien, realized just how little time remained. The envoy ship touched down on the cracked surface of the dead world. Dust swirled around its landing gear, caught in the wind of ancient machines still running beneath the ground. No welcoming party waited. No lights guided them. Only silence, and the shadow of human ships drifting above like silent predators. Inside the envoy, the reptilian diplomat swallowed hard. "They are watching us," he whispered. "Of course," replied the insectoid pilot, clicking nervously. "But from where?" The answer came as the ground in front of them shifted, revealing a massive platform rising slowly from beneath the surface. Figures stood upon it, humans, silent, still, but very much alive. The commander led the group. He moved with calm precision, each step deliberate. His people fanned out behind him, their eyes cold and calculating. They had been asleep for 1,000 years, yet not one looked weak or unsure. The reptilian diplomat forced himself forward, bowing slightly. "I speak for the Galactic Council. We come in peace." The commander's gaze was sharp, measuring every word, every gesture. "Peace," he said softly, as though testing the weight of the word. "A fine thing to bring to a tomb." The diplomat flinched. You sent a signal. A plea for help." The commander tilted his head slightly. "A test. To see who would answer. And now we know." Far beyond, in a hidden sector of dark space, something stirred. A massive shape moved between the stars, so large it blotted out entire constellations. Silent, patient, and hungry. Its sensors scanned for the signal that had finally broken the stillness of time. It had waited for this. For humanity to stir. For the galaxy to notice. For the hunt to begin again. Back on the surface, the diplomat gathered courage. "The Council believes your return could bring balance. But others fear what you might do. They remember the wars. They remember what you are capable of." The commander stepped closer, his shadow falling over the diplomat. "Then tell them this: humanity did not vanish. Humanity prepared. Not to conquer, but to survive. Because what destroyed the old worlds still exists." The insectoid pilot clicked rapidly. What are you saying?" The commander looked up at the sky, eyes hard. "You thought we were the greatest danger this galaxy had ever known. You were wrong." Far across the stars, the massive shape drew closer, slipping through the void like a shadow given form. Energy readings spiked in forgotten systems. Abandoned star stations flickered to life, only to be torn apart moments later. The hunter was awake. The diplomat tried to understand. If something worse is coming, why call us? Why warn us? Why not stay hidden? The commander answered simply, because hiding only delayed it. Fighting alone would be suicide. And we do not plan to die twice. He turned to his officer. "Signal the fleet. Prepare for movement. The game begins now." High above, human ships shifted formation, their lights glowing brighter. Across the galaxy, ancient stations finished powering up, linking into a vast, invisible web. Inside the envoy, fear grew heavy. The insectoid pilot whispered, "If what he says is true, no one is ready for this. Not them. Not us." The diplomat exhaled slowly. "Then perhaps, for the first time in history, we stand together." The commander looked back at the alien delegation one last time. "Go. Tell your council what you saw. Tell them to choose, ally with us, or die alone. But hurry." "Why hurry?" the reptilian diplomat asked, his voice shaking. The commander's answer was almost a whisper. "Because it has already started moving toward us." Far beyond, the shadow between the stars shifted again, and this time, it was closer. The shadow moved. Sensors across uncharted space screamed warnings as the colossal shape slipped between stars, leaving trails of broken gravity in its wake. Entire asteroid belts shattered as it passed. Energy pulses rippled through the void like the heartbeat of a dying universe. But the shadow was not alone. Smaller forms emerged from its sides, sleek, sharp, and silent. Hunters. Scouts. War beasts of something far older than human technology. And they were headed for the nearest populated system. In the Galactic Council chamber, chaos reigned. Alarms blared as holographic maps updated with red zones spreading across the edge of known space. Fleets scrambled, colonies fortified, but everyone knew the truth. No one was ready. The reptilian elder's voice shook as he addressed the chamber. It has begun. The ancient darkness has awakened. The insectoid leader slammed a clawed hand against the table. Then we attack now, before it reaches core space. With what? Snapped the crystalline delegate. Our fleets are scattered. Our weapons are nothing compared to what humanity built. And even they only delayed it. A heavy silence followed. The chamber felt colder, darker. Finally, the elder spoke again. Then we do what has never been done before. We ally with humans. Far from the council, on the dead world, the human fleet stirred like a beast shaking off centuries of sleep. Engines burned with ghostly blue fire, casting long shadows across the planet's cracked surface. In the command center, the human commander stood before a massive holodisplay showing enemy movement. They're testing us, he said softly. They're sending scouts to see how fast we respond. The officer beside him frowned. Then we destroy the scouts before they report back. The commander shook his head. Not enough. We must show the galaxy what we are, and what we are fighting. Only then will they come to us willingly. The first system fell within hours. A frontier colony, small and lightly defended, simply vanished. The last transmission was a burst of static, followed by a single chilling phrase. They are not ships, they are alive. The council watched in horror as reports streamed in. Entire outposts destroyed. Sensor buoys ripped from orbit. Even communication relays were consumed by something unknown. The reptilian elder rose to his full height, voice grim. We send our fleets to join the humans. Every hour we wait, the shadow grows. The insectoid leader resisted for a moment, then finally lowered his antennae. Prepare the declaration. Humanity is no longer extinct. Back on the human world, the commander stood before his awakening people. Rows of soldiers, pilots and engineers, all veterans of a war fought 1,000 years ago, listened in silence. Our enemy has awakened, he said. It comes not to conquer, but to erase. Entire civilizations will burn unless we act. And yet, the galaxy does not trust us. They fear what we are. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. Good. Let them fear. But let them fight beside us anyway. Because if we fall, they will follow. The soldiers nodded, silent but fierce. Above, the first wave of human ships formed into battle groups. Their hulls gleamed like shadows dipped in starlight, their engines whispering of forgotten power. The AI spoke softly to the commander. Scouts are in range. Engage. He nodded. Yes. Show them why humanity was never truly gone. Moments later, the void erupted. Human ships burst from dark space like predators, their weapons igniting with silent brilliance. Beams of white fire lanced through the darkness, cutting into the alien hunters. The first one shattered, folding in on itself before vanishing in a burst of light. But the others did not retreat. They swarmed. Fast. Terrifyingly fast. The battle raged in silence across the void, only the glow of weapons and burning wreckage marking the fight. And far beyond, the massive shadow watched. Waiting. Measuring. Learning. On the council world, the alarm sounded again, urgent, desperate. A scout transmission had made it through. Not from the human battle, but from the shadow. Its message was simple, a signal in an ancient language none had heard for millennia. But the translation was clear. We remember you. We are coming to finish what we began. The stars burned. Human ships and alien fleets moved together for the first time in history, forming a fragile wall against the approaching darkness. Across the void, Hundreds of alien vessels, sleek, small, but fast, aligned beside massive human warships, their lights flickering like a constellation of defiance. In the command center of the flagship Aegis Eternal, the human commander stood before a massive holo display, watching the enemy approach. The shadow was closer now, vast, cold, alive. It was not a ship. It was something far worse. "Status?" he asked quietly. The AI replied, "All fleets in position. Weapon systems at maximum charge. Enemy arrival. 90 seconds. The officer beside him whispered, "Sir, even with all this, can we win?" The commander didn't answer. On the Galactic Council world, entire cities gathered to watch the battle through live feeds. Holograms projected the human fleet, sleek and brutal, side by side with alien formations that had once sworn never to fight under the same banner. The reptilian elder spoke softly to the council chamber. "If we survive this day, history will begin again." The insectoid leader hissed. "If we do not, history ends here." The void rippled. The enemy arrived. It emerged like a wound in space, a colossal shape, jagged and shifting, with smaller creatures clinging to its surface like armor. It moved with impossible grace for its size, every step of its advance tearing at the fabric of reality itself. And then, it opened its eyes. Not one, not two, thousands. A sea of pale lights glowing across its vast body, staring down at the allied fleet like a predator watching prey. "Open fire!" the commander roared. Beams of white fire, plasma bursts, kinetic lances, every weapon in the fleet unleashed its fury. The void lit up brighter than a star as explosions rippled across the monster's outer hide. But the shadow didn't stop. It endured. It learned. It adapted. Smaller hunters broke away, swarming toward the fleet like living missiles. Alien ships darted and fired, human warships cut through the swarm with precision. Dozens fell. Hundreds followed. But still, the enemy pressed closer. The commander gripped the edge of the console. "Bring the Eidolon protocol online." The officer hesitated. "Sir, that was never meant to be used again." "Neither was extinction," the commander snapped. Across the battlefield, human ships shifted formation, exposing strange arrays hidden deep within their hulls. A low hum filled the void, a sound older than the galaxy's newest empires. Energy built, bright and blinding, until it tore open the darkness like a second sun. The weapon fired. A beam of pure, unfiltered energy struck the shadow, cutting deep, burning through armor thicker than mountains. For the first time, the enemy screamed. But victory did not follow. The shadow recoiled, its vast form rippling, and then, horrifyingly, it began to heal. The wound closed. The lights along its body flared brighter. And then, it spoke. Not in words. Not in sound. But in thought. Deep, ancient and cold. "You should not have woken. Now we finish what we began." The commander's blood ran cold. "They can speak." The AI answered softly. "Not speak. Remember." The battle raged on, weapons flaring, ships burning, the void shaking with fury. But even as the enemy pressed closer, something else stirred within the human fleet, a signal, faint but growing, coming from beyond known space. The officer looked up in shock. "Sir, another fleet is responding." The commander frowned. "Reinforcements." The AI hesitated. Unknown, but human. Across the galaxy, forgotten worlds began to wake. More ancient hangars opened. More ships lifted into the void. But these were different, darker, sharper, older than even the fleet already engaged. The commander felt a chill. They were not the only ones who slept. As the battle reached its peak, a massive explosion tore through the void, one of the enemy hunters destroyed by a human superweapon. Cheers rose across council worlds. But in the commander's eyes, there was no triumph. Because far beyond, past the battle, past the enemy, something bigger moved. Something older than both humanity and the shadow. And it had just noticed the war. The AI whispered the final words of the day. "Commander, we may not be the only ancients returning." The commander stared at the stars, cold and endless. "Then this war is only the beginning."